Hi there, Dr. Rajiv Iyer here with more secrets on how you can be a successful international medical graduate doctor in the USA. Here, I'm going to tell you about the alternate entry path program through which you can come directly into the USA from your home country as a specialist and you do not have to repeat residency all over again. How cool is that? Let's do this together. The alternate entry path program, or sometimes known as the academic program, is offered by American Board of Medical Specialties. The American boards recognize your specialty training in your home country and they want to encourage outstanding, productive international medical graduates to directly become a specialist doctor in the USA and be part of the US system. Now, this program is offered by anesthesiology, radiology, orthopedic surgery, general surgery, thoracic surgery, where cardiovascular surgeons can participate, and obstetrics and gynecology. I personally came to the USA through this alternate entry path program and I became successful as an IMG. Here I want to share all that secrets with you so you become successful in your journey. I know what you're thinking, who is eligible for this, right? The first thing is your medical college or medical school training must be from a college recognized by the World Health Organization. This is easy to check, so let's get on this website called World Directory of Medical Schools that you're seeing on the screen. Now I'm going to click search the World Directory, and now you see 4 options here: country, medical school name, city, and operational. So let's just focus on country because I'm from India. I'm more familiar with India, so I'm going to click India here. But it doesn't matter. Whatever country you're from, the process is exactly the same. So do check your country there and say country. You do have the option of putting in your medical school name, but if you want to just check all medical schools in your city, you can just go directly into city. So I'm going to say New Delhi. The first thing is the All India Institute of Medical Science. I'm going to click on that. You see these school details. So now let's jump onto this tab that says sponsor notes. So once you see the sponsor notes, you see a couple of things here. The information below has been provided by the world's directly sponsoring organizations. It says Canada, USMLE, United States of America. So this means your medical college is all set. If you do not find the sponsor notes for your medical school, post in the comments below. I will tell you the next steps on how you need to proceed with that. There is another major thing you should be aware of. As of 2024, USMLE is releasing a new update based on which the recognition of medical colleges is completely going to be changed. Okay, so we checked our medical school. The next thing to check is to make sure you're actually a specialist doctor. This means you've completed your residency in your home country. Home country is any country outside the USA or Canada. Is that making sense? Now, the next criteria is based on whether you're an exceptional candidate or not. For this, I'm going to classify your country of specialization based on 2 categories because this will be easier to understand if you think of it this way. Let's say you're someone who has a specialist training from a low middle income country. This is based on World Bank definition of countries like India, China, Pakistan, Brazil, Philippines, and many others. If your specialization from this country, during residency, you have to be exceptional in terms of research. What this means is you have to be actively involved in research projects. You have to be an active participant in presenting at conferences. You should have some abstracts, publications, and you should also ideally have quite a few manuscripts. Now, these manuscripts should be in a journal that people read, not in any journal that nobody reads. Because if someone is reviewing your CV in the USA, they clearly understand the journals. I know you're probably thinking, what should I do if I don't like doing all this? I hate research. What do I do? Well, unfortunately, if you have a specialist training from low middle income country and you don't like research, you don't like to be academically active, then you should definitely explore the traditional residency pathway and not the alternate entry path program. On the other hand, if you have a specialist training from a high-income country like UK, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, and many others, then your CV should be exceptional in terms of educational activities. Having a research background is not an expectation, although it's going to help, because the American boards consider the training from these countries to be sort of equal to the US training. Now remember, most people who come to the USA actually end up repeating their residency all over again, but these are meant for exceptional candidates who have established their career in their home countries. So the American boards can offer some options to these international medical graduates specifically. Now here's the good news. It does not matter what your country of origin is, but it does matter where your country of specialization is. I'll give you an example. Let's say you're an international medical graduate from India and you did your medical school or medical college from India. And now you went to Singapore and you did your specialization there. You decide to move to the USA. In that case, the American boards considers your specialization training in Singapore and not really your medical school training from India. But your medical school must be recognized by the World Health Organization. I have known quite a few IMGs who are from India who actually spent a few years in other countries, did their specialization training there, and then moved to the USA and have been successful as an international medical graduate doctor. If you're from a low middle income country, one expectation is that you have some sort of clinical training in the USA or Canada. This is also required for you to get your medical license. Alright, now I'm going to tell you how does the medical licensure works if you're someone trained outside the USA. The alternate entry path program requires two steps. One is you secure a job in a hospital. This should be approved ahead of time by the American board. The second thing is you need a medical license to work as a consultant. Now this is where it gets a little tricky, where you need to understand the concepts fully, because I've received so many questions from people asking about these specific things. So let me make this very clear to you. Well, there are 50 states in the USA. Each state has its own requirement. This is a topic for a different video. Each state specified how much of ACGME accredited training the candidate requires in order to get a full license. A full license enables the IMG to work as a consultant. Now I'm going to give you an example from the state of Ohio where I used to have a medical license. The state of Ohio says that you need to have an ACGME accredited training of at least 2 years in order to be eligible to get a full license. Where is this 2 years coming from? That's the big question. This 2 years can come from various ways. Now, one is you have a previous US or Canadian clinical experience, and that will enable you to get a license for you to be a consultant when you enter into the alternate entry path program. So let's say you don't have those 2 years of clinical experience to get a license in the state of Ohio. Now, how this works is the alternate entry path program, depending on the specialty, can range somewhere between 4 or 5 years or maybe even longer. The first 2 years can be functioned or can be structured as a clinical fellow, an ACGME accredited clinical fellow. And then the subsequent years, you can have a full license and function as a faculty or a consultant. So what this means is your alternate entry path program would be structured in such a way that you'll be functioning as a combination of fellow and a consultant. Does it make sense to you? I'm sure you still have some questions. Post in the comments below so I can get back to you with answers. To enter into the alternate entry path program from an outside country, you don't need to have any US visa beforehand. You don't need to have a green card nor be a US citizen. Once you secure your position, then the hospital will sponsor you so you can be eligible for getting a visa. Now, what visa should you be getting? Topic for a different video. Check in the description below where I have described the different types of visas you need to come in as an IMG into the USA. The other questions many people have had is this treated as traditional residency? There are two ways to enter into the USA. One is the traditional residency and the second is the alternate entry path program. So here, because you're bypassing the path of being a resident, you don't go through the matching process of residency. You're not scheduled with residents when you're doing clinical work, but rather you're functioning as a clinical fellow or as a faculty or a consultant, so you're not considered a resident as you're going through the alternate entry path program. Now, I have seen various combinations of this. I have seen some people work as a fellow and then become a consultant. I have seen people exclusively be a consultant. In orthopedic surgery, I know of 2 people who actually completed quite a few years of fellowship all through the alternate entry path program. and then they became a consultant. Either ways, if you're really keen on moving into the USA, whether you come in as a fellow or a consultant, really doesn't matter, because ultimately this alternate entry path program will get you a permanent residency or a green card. You will be board certified. This is huge. And then, of course, you'll be ending up getting more than a six-figure pay. All in all, this will help you be a successful IMG in the US system. USMLE. So the big question IMGs ask is, do I need USMLE? Everybody is worried of taking the USMLE exam. I know IMGs who could not come to the US because they were scared of taking the USMLE. I also know of IMGs who could not come to the US because they could not clear the USMLE. Now, USMLE sounds like a very dreadful examination. However, it's not very difficult to pass a USMLE. There are some strategic ways you should prepare in order to be successful in the USMLE. I've left a video for you in the description below. Do check it out. Now, here's the good news. If you're entering to the alternate entry path program, then the USMLE scores do not make a huge difference. But if you're coming through the residency, then yes, it's a big deal. However, when you're writing your USMLE, you really wouldn't know if you're going to qualify for the program unless you really are confident of having an outstanding CV and either have spoken to me or other people in the US. Either ways, it's always better to do a good job on the USMLE, because you never know if you have to go back into traditional residency, then this always helps. The other question that frequently comes up is, if someone is in Canada, does Canadian experience count towards being in the alternate entry path program in the USA? So the alternate entry path program is offered exclusively in the US hospitals. The Canadian experience do not count towards those 4 or 5 years of alternate entry path program. However, the Canadian experience does definitely help in order to get you a full license in the USA. So there are benefits of having a Canadian experience, and if you have an opportunity, you should definitely take it in order to move to the USA. As I'm talking about Canada, are you starting to think what might be the options in Canada? Don't worry about it. I do have a video specifically made for that. You can always check the description below after you finish this video, so you also know the options in Canada for you, where you can be a specialist without repeating residency all over again. The next big question people have is, how much do they get paid during the alternate entry path program? This depends on a lot of different factors, primarily on the specialty. Bottom line, if you're working as a clinical fellow, your pay would be equal to any other clinical fellow who is a US graduate. If you're working as a faculty, then your pay would be equal to any other faculty who has come through the US system. What are the numbers? Now, if you're wondering how exactly IMGs are paid, I have made a video specifically for that. That's in the description below as well. Do check it out. I have also left a video on what are the top 20 paid specialties and least 20 paid specialties, so you get an idea as to what pay you get based on your specialization, and also how the payment is structured for IMGs in the USA. These are very difficult concepts that most people don't understand. So I have made it very simple for you, so you get an in-depth idea of how the payment is structured. Okay, lastly, you must be wondering, how do I apply for this alternate entry path program in the USA? Now, the alternate entry path program is offered by big universities that have an ACGME accredited residency or fellowship or both. So in order for you to be successful, the first step is to find out the list of all programs that are ACGME accredited. So this is easy to find. I've also left some links in the description below that you can check it out. So here is what I would suggest. Let's say you're an IMG from a low middle income country and you're watching this from your home country. So go to the list, find out all the programs that have a fellowship, and then write to the chair of those departments with two things. One is your personal statement, and the second one is your CV. Oh, I know what you're thinking. As soon as I say personal statement, you're starting to worry about what the heck it is. Now, let me make it very simple for you. A personal statement is a simple one-page document that the US graduates are very familiar with because they have to start writing personal statements for pretty much everything. For an IMG, this is not a common phenomenon, so it's easier to get scared thinking what this personal statement is. Let me make this easy for you. This is a one-page document highlighting about yourself. Now, when you're writing this, write all the accomplishments that you have made. Don't just repeat the CV, but just make a summary of what your accomplishments in the CV. Start the first paragraph of the letter saying why you're passionate about your specialization, and the second paragraph say what accomplishments you have done so the hospital should be hiring you in the alternate entry path program. And third thing, you can say how you will be successful as an alternate entry path candidate. And the fourth thing, you can say how the hospital will benefit from having someone like you. And this could mean things like you'll bring in research, you'll bring in some unique educational perspective, and so on and so forth. I do have a specific video made for how to write your personal statement. Do check it out from the description below. Make sure your curriculum vitae or your CV, biodata, whatever you call it, is up to date and you mention all the important things there. Go through it again and again. Make sure there are no typos, grammatical errors, any mistakes. It looks really neat and crisp and clean. I'll give you a specific example. This is actually a real example of someone whom I've seen. Let's say you're an international medical graduate from India and you're a radiologist. You completed your radiology residency and now go to the list of the programs that offer the ACGME accredited fellowships in radiology. Now let's take the example of University of Cincinnati here. Okay, so you find that University of Cincinnati does have an ACGME accredited radiology fellowship. Okay, you're going to go to Google and find who the chair is. Now you're going to write to the chair very respectfully, seeking a position in the alternate entry path program in radiology. So you write a brief email of 2 to 3 lines and then you're going to attach 2 things in your email. One is your personal statement and the second is your CV, and make sure you put your phone number in the end so in case they need to call you, they can always call you. These are very busy people and they have a lot of things going on. So the last thing you want to do, keep emailing them again and again. If you don't hear from a particular program, just move on to the next program. Or you could even send multiple emails because you never know who is going to respond, who is not going to respond. Expect a low response rate. Don't expect that once you send an email, everyone is going to write back to you, and don't get disappointed if the departments don't get back to you. Maybe they're not interested in you, or maybe they just don't offer the alternate entry path program, but keep looking for more options. It is really hard to predict which programs offer the alternate entry path program and which do not. So you just have to send emails to different programs to see if they're really interested. You could actually use the same email template, use the same CV, of course, and also the same personal statement, which obviously does not change based on the programs. If for some reason you're able to find a program that has taken alternate entry path program candidates in the past or are willing to take someone, you consider yourself lucky. The next step is you will be interviewed by this program, assuming they like what you send them, and if they are willing to offer you a job, they will write to the American boards seeking approval of your hiring into the alternate entry path program. Assuming all these steps go well and the American board approves you as a candidate in the alternate entry path program, voila, then you're all set. The next step is you have to finish all the requirements that you have promised to the American board that you would do. These, in my experience, are not very onerous. These are things that can be easily accomplished because once the hospital has hired you in the USA, they make sure they give you enough support in order for you to be successful. After all, if the hospital has hired you, they want you to be successful. So you will have a lot of support and a lot of mentorship and a lot of people helping you so you become successful. So the hardest part is getting into the program. And subsequently, you will be writing your specialization boards in the USA offered by the American boards. And once you pass those exams, voila, congratulations, you are now American Medical Board Certified Specialist. Isn't that fantastic? Now with this, the hospital in my experience, will even help you apply for a permanent residency so you become a green card holder and subsequently transition to becoming a US citizen. During this alternate entry path program, if you're functioning as a consultant, so you're also getting paid fully like any other US consultant trained in the USA. All in all, the alternate entry path program is a fantastic program. If you consider yourself an outstanding international medical graduate and are willing to move to the USA or wanting to move to the USA, then this is a fantastic option that I definitely suggest you explore. If you're someone who is presently doing residency in your home country and thinking in the future of moving to the USA through the alternate entry path program, now you know how to be successful by accomplishing all these things and becoming an outstanding resident or an outstanding initial few years of consultant. Now for this, you have to be very active academically, especially if you're an IMG from a low to middle income country. I hope I have made all these concepts clear to you in terms of how you can be successful as an international medical graduate in the USA. So I actually referenced a lot of different videos while I was speaking about the alternate entry path program, and the good news is I have bundled up all of this in this playlist to check them out one by one and clearly understand the concepts. If you found any value with this video, make sure to hit the like button. Take care, stay safe. I'll talk to you soon.